You know her as a UFC fighter. You know her as a bare knuckle brawler. You also know her for an OnlyFans page. Can't lie about that as well. She's very famous. But now, May 25th, she's going to the world of boxing in Misfits Boxing to take on another OnlyFans star in Elle Brooke. It is always my pleasure to speak to the great Paige VanZant. Paige, how are you?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I am fantastic. Appreciate you taking the time as always. Let me just start with this question. You announced it on your amazing podcast that you do with your husband, of course, Austin Vanderford. And I texted you right after. I was like, excited, boxing. How did this happen? Like, because we all kind of assumed you were going to be doing bare knuckle. I literally just wrote an article saying the one thing Knuckle Mania was missing was Paige VanZant. Like, I feel like that would have been like an extra boost for that card. So how did this happen?
Honestly, we just got the call from my managers. Originally, I think they had asked me to fight in March, and it would have been like a 3 or 4 week camp, maybe less. And I was like, yeah, perfect. Let's do it. That didn't happen. And then, of course, then we've just kind of were like waiting for dates. When you had texted me, I still was like, okay, what's going on? But we'd been training for this. We kind of knew that me boxing on Misfits was going to happen eventually. And we finally got it all settled down. And yeah, now I got a boxing match coming up.
Obviously, you come from combat sports. You come from the mixed martial arts, and of course, going over to bare knuckle. You train boxing all the time, and that goes all the way back to your UFC career. Was boxing something that you were interested in, or was it literally just the offer that came in that was like, hey, like, let's try this out?
No, so there was a reason I went into bare knuckle boxing out of the UFC. It was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to be immersed in boxing, and it wasn't just that BKFC excited me. It was being in the boxing world and working on my striking and having fun with just striking, honestly. So BKFC was the one who came with the offer first, and I was like, fuck yeah, I don't mind taking the gloves off. So now I have an offer in boxing with gloves on. So it's like taking one little element out of the puzzle. So for me, it was just kind of, I've always boxed for my training. I've been doing it my entire life. So finally I got like a real boxing match.
I know the answer to the question before I ask it, but I got to hear your version of the answer, which is, can I assume you still will go back and do another bare knuckle fight? Like that is still in the future?
Oh, absolutely. I believe I still have one more fight on my contract with them. So they were nice enough to let me come do a boxing match with gloves on. I offered to my opponent if she wanted to do it bare knuckle. She said no. So yeah, BKFC will definitely see me again.
And every time I talk to Dave Feldman, he's like, they stay in contact with you. Like they definitely want you to fight again, which is why I said I was kind of surprised. I thought you would maybe get on one of our upcoming cards, but I mean, a great offer comes in to do something like this. I'm sure it's fun, and obviously headlining a big card, and Misfits puts on fun shows. Like I enjoy the Misfits shows. Like they are fun. I assume you were familiar with them when you got the call.
I actually wasn't. I don't know that I had ever seen a Misfits fight. Since I got the offer, though, I went and did my research, started looking at the shows and the promotions that they put on. And yeah, I was happy enough to say, yeah, absolutely, and sign a fight contract.
Now, when you fought in the UFC, of course, you fought top 10, top 15 competition pretty much your entire career. I always bring up, like I was at your first fight in Austin. You fought very tough competition your entire career. You go to bare knuckle fighting championships. Day one, you fight Britton Hart, who is now the current strawweight champion. You fight Rachel Ostovich, who is an opponent you fought and beat in the UFC. We know how good she is. Elle Brooke, I'll be honest, and I literally just interviewed her and I said, I didn't know who she was until I heard about her doing the Misfits thing. Now, I know she has a career. We all know about that outside of that, but I had no idea who she was at that realm. How do you approach this? Because let me be honest with you, Paige, like this on paper, this is a mismatch. Like you are a professional fighter with a multitude of records, a multitude of fights on your record. And I don't want to discount what she's done, but she's fought influence. She's fought reality stars. This is not, she loves boxing. She told me she loves boxing, but she's not fought professional fighters. So like, was there interest? Were you kind of like, man, this is a mismatch? Like, how did you react when you got that name?
Honestly, it was kind of just the call, like, hey, from my managers, like, hey, Misfits wants you to fight for the title. This is the opponent. This is how much money they're going to pay you. And I had been training for a bare knuckle boxing match. I had been training, I had a bare knuckle boxing match lined up in London that got canceled the week of the fight because of some like protesting in London. So I was training and prepared for a bare knuckle boxing match. So when all of a sudden they're like, hey, do you want to do this? And I kind of like looked at it on paper and I was like, well, yeah, of course I do. So it was kind of just one of those instances where it's like, I am still going into it though. Like it's still a fight. She's going to come trained and prepared. She's going to be working extremely hard. I watched her last few fights. She's very, very tough. So I'm putting the same into it as if I'm fighting Felice Herrig again. It's kind of that same situation. I'm going to get ready for war.
Well, you also, I mean, let's be honest, there's a certain level of expectation and pressure on you this time. Like, you're not going in there against quote unquote equal. You're going in there against somebody that, let's be honest, people are going to pick you to win. They believe you should beat Elle Brooke, right? Like, that's the majority of people are going to say, well, yeah, of course Paige should win. So that does raise the level of expectation, right?
Absolutely. I think, but every fight I look back on in my career, there's some sort of element of pressure that is different for me, or there's some outlying pressure. When it was fighting Felice Herrig, it was fighting somebody who I was a fan of, who I had looked up to, who had, belts in kickboxing divisions and came from Bellator. And when I fight, Alex Chambers, she was a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, going on a black belt, just, incredible jiu-jitsu resume. Or I was the extreme underdog, or this and that. So I feel like there's always some sort of element. I'm working with a sports psychologist now, and it's really just going in there and being as prepared as possible. And if I can just go in there and be prepared and as confident as I feel right now, then yeah, I'm going to show everybody exactly why what they're thinking is correct.
Yeah. Now, I already know the answer to this question because we've had this conversation before, and I hate to even bring it up again, but I only bring it up because I hate playing the he said, she said game.
Yeah.
Like, did you hear what she said? But I literally just spoke to Elle, so I kind of have to mention this because I said that, like, you guys kind of went the reverse, where she was an OnlyFans star and decided to try boxing, and now she says she loves it. And I'm awesome. Applaud you for that. You were the reverse, where you were very well known as a fighter. You decided to start your OnlyFans page, and now you're very wealthy and buying houses and cars, and then you know how happy I am that you're doing that. But I said, like, what do you make of that? And she had said, like, she thinks you're doing this fighting thing now to stay relevant, because that's what, that's how you came to fame, versus like she came to fame through OnlyFans and now she's doing boxing. Now, I told her, I was like, listen, I don't know how much money you're making, but we've talked many times about the money you make. You don't need to do this anymore. But yet you constantly get that question. Why do you do this? Why do you still do this? I know the answer. We've had this exact conversation before, but for that question of, like, you're only doing this because that's how people know you, so you got to stay quote unquote relevant. How do you respond to that?
So I'll tell you this, I have a lot of other opportunities on the table. I signed a movie contract that we're pushing back so I can have this fight. There's a lot of other things I could be doing, but I choose to fight because I love it. I have multiple other, opportunities reaching out to me that are bigger, I guess, in the realm of popularity, I guess you could say. But I wanted to do this boxing match. I want to go in there. I want to show how hard I've been working in the gym, how hard I've been training, and yeah, I guess I do the OnlyFans and I do all this and that, but my entire career, people have been asking me why I'm doing it. And it's because I want to. I do whatever the fuck I want to do. And I do it because I'm good at it. And I do it because this is where I'm going to feel the most success at the end of the day. I like taking risks. I like having fun, and I like to fight.
Absolutely. And I think I always laugh when people say that, like, just because you're making money somewhere else. Like, I think, to me, in a weird way, like, even though I do understand the concept of, like, the whole, like, how hard is it to wake up and run at 3 a.m. when you're sleeping on silk sheets? I understand the concept of that. But, like, when people say, like, why does Conor McGregor still fight? Why did Floyd Mayweather still fight? Because they love it. Like, it's not like it's just about the money. Like, of course the money's nice, and that's part of it, but you don't need, like, in a weird way, you're actually in a better position now, right? Like, you don't need to fight. You don't have that financial, like, I remember when you broke your arm and you were dealing with, that was a real financial issue where you couldn't fight, and you were basically, like, you weren't getting paid enough. Now you're in a position where you're doing this really because you want to, because you don't have to do this. You could literally walk away tomorrow and never fight again.
No, and I think it's just an interesting concept where people assume just because you make a ton of money that you change as a person. Money doesn't change you, like, hopefully. You just be smart. And my parents raised me extremely well. I grew up, I went to college when I was 16. I pretty much could do anything that I wanted to do. I knew whatever I chose to do, I was going to be successful at. And now all of a sudden, it really has taken off. My career has taken off. My, finances are proving that, which is awesome. But I think, the media likes to make a bigger deal about how much money I make more than I do. Like, everybody just wants to talk about how much money I make. And for me, it's like, yeah, that is awesome, because if you're going to do a job, you should be paid to do it. Otherwise, it's just a hobby. So, the money hasn't changed me. I'm still the same person. I still have the same love and desire and drive for fighting. And it's just, one element that I still stress about, but I guess is less stressful than the other person.
Yeah, it's funny that there's one thing that Elle said that I would agree with, though. She said that, like, one probably we do know a lot of fighters do explore the OnlyFans avenue now, and she said that a lot of it does come down to money. It's because women are vastly underpaid in combat sports, and I think that is absolutely true. We can have that conversation over and over again about you being underpaid when you were in the UFC and then getting paid more of what you're worth at BKFC. And again, you're doing your OnlyFans and things now because you choose to do it. You want to do it. But there is that conversation of like, yeah, like you should be able to make more money just doing fighting if that's what you want to do. I know I don't want to rehash conversations we've had in the past about the UFC, but that's one thing she said is absolutely true. Like when we talk about money, like, yeah, women are vastly underpaid in combat sports. Combat sports in general, I think we could say, fighters are vastly underpaid.
Yeah. And for me, it comes opportunity. Like we have such a short period of time where we have the opportunity to make this crazy amount of money. Cause eventually I do want to, be 35 and say that I can retire. Like 35, 40, I can say I did everything possibly that I could do in my life and I can check all the boxes. And I took advantage of every single opportunity that came my way. So, doing OnlyFans and doing all that was an opportunity that I took advantage of and it absolutely worked in my favor. Doing this boxing match, it's an opportunity that's going to pay off in my favor and there's more opportunities to come. And I really just like to strike while the iron's hot.
Absolutely. And this is, again, at the end of the day, this is a fight. And I know that you said, you weren't familiar with her. You watched her fights now. Again, she's had some big moments in there, but it's a fight. Like you could fight anybody. You could fight, your Uber driver and there's a threat that they could hit you and knock you out. Now, is it a much lower threat than fighting, Britton Hart? Sure. But in this case, like, do you see her as a threat? Like, do you see and outside of like the, she's a threat because she's standing in front of you and trying to punch you in the face, but like skill wise, do you see her as a threat?
I mean, everybody is. I'd have to go back and check what her last fight date was, but I know that she's been preparing obviously extremely hard to fight me. I think they may have known that they were trying to get me on the fight card before I even knew. So I'm sure she's been working really hard. And of course, I hope she is because I do want to go out there and I want to have a tough fight and I want to really show how hard I've worked. And that only will come from fighting a skilled opponent. I want to show how much skills and level I've progressed in the gym and how hard I've been working on my boxing.
This is just, we're literally a month out from the fight. I assume so far since the announcement's been fun. Obviously you train all the time. People may not see that all the time, but you're training constantly. I know that. Is there a chance that this could be more for you in terms of like sticking around and doing more boxing matches? Everything goes well in the 25th, you beat or knock out Elle Brooke. Is there a chance you'd stick around and do more boxing?
Yeah, Misfits actually signed me to a multi-fight contract. So I think there's rumors they want me to fight again in Dubai is one of their cards. So yeah, I'm here to stay. Of course, there's other opportunities. I still definitely will be in BKFC. I absolutely love the promotion. I loved bare knuckle boxing. So this is just another one of those boxing matches and it's, really, really exciting.
Now you said earlier, you're right. People do get weirdly obsessed with how much money you make. I will say, Paige, you know this because I feel like I know you pretty well. I get obsessed with it only because I'm so happy for you. Like when you guys built your house and you built the secret room, like I'm still to this day jealous of you and Austin. You have a secret room. That's like my dream to build a secret room in my house. The fact that you're able to do that, I'm like, damn you, Paige. Like that's the coolest thing ever.
It's awesome. Yeah, we really just we did it right. I feel like I did it right. I had the right team behind me. I had a financial advisor when I was 19. I really set myself up for success just based on the team that I had in my corner. So no, everything's been incredible. A great team has gotten me here. And yeah, I'm excited to continue on and keep living the dream.
Now, my last question, I know this is a weird one. I don't want to make it weird, but I got to bring it up because, again, we know that like you guys went the reverse where you were a fighter and now you're very successful doing your own thing on the side. Elle was the reverse where she became famous doing OnlyFans and then decided to become a boxer. You guys both have very popular OnlyFans pages. Is there any chance of like an OnlyFans bet? Like the winner of this fight, like there's something like she's like, I would do a collab with her. Like that would be fun. Like, is there a side bet we can get here with this? I feel like there's a world where that's got to happen.
There should be, right? There should definitely be a side bet to this, but I don't know. She wouldn't shake my hand fight week. So I think we'll have to touch back on this conversation after the fight.
Yeah, she said she told me she was like angry you were so nice to her. I was like, Paige, you're a nice person. Like you're not a mean person. Like, and you don't have to be mean to be a fighter. Like there's tons of Damian Maia is the nicest guy in the history of the world and he's still a pretty ferocious competitor. You don't have to be mean to be a fighter.
No, absolutely. And I think I'm not trying to sell the show. Like, the show is going to happen on fight night. I don't need to sell it. I don't need to fake it. I'm coming in here full of confidence and full of just like gratitude and thankfulness that she even took this fight. So there's nothing for me to be angry about. I'm thankful. I'm excited she said yes. So we got a really, really exciting fight coming up.
Be as angry as you want. Don't shake hands. At the end of the day, she's got to throw hands with Paige VanZant, and that's a dangerous place to be on May 25th.
Thank you so much.
Paige, it is always a pleasure to catch up with you. You know, I appreciate it. Say hello to Austin for me as always. Thank you for taking the time, and can't wait for May 25th.
I will. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Oh,
Later, Damon.
Hey, Austin.
Later, buddy. Good to see you, man.
You too, man. I keep saying it. So yeah, talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, he's in the corner. Bye.